I'm Sales Director for International Anti-Aging Systems. I'd like to just say, first of all, it's a pleasure being here, and thank you very much, Professor Campbell and everyone, for inviting us. Our apologies to Phil can't be here. In the interest of moving on a bit, I won't tell you too much about the company. We're basically commercial, so we've been working with Professor Cavenson for the last 4 years in selling or marketing the peptides range of 21 bioregulated peptides. Our primary markets have been Europe, the United States, and also developing the Far East. As just basically what we do, move on from that, we'll talk about really what I've been asked to talk about is the reported feedback we've had from some of the clinicians, the doctors who have used the peptides on their patients. So if we start with this one, the Glandacort, in this particular case, this lady, she basically had severe adrenal fatigue to the point where she was not leaving home. As she put it, she totally missed her family growing up because she and her grandchildren, her nieces and everything else like that, she couldn't get out of the home. The only time she saw them was when they came to see her. She was actually taking topical ACTH to try to maintain her energy, but it wasn't raising the energy. She then started on a course of Glandacort. She was taking 2 tablets or 2 capsules a day. She noticed her energy levels rising, and that was in March of 2015. In May, her ACTH ran out, and to compensate while she waited for some more ACTH, she doubled her prescription to 4 capsules of Glandacort a day. And she noticed not only that her energy levels continued to rise, but that she felt it was accelerating. So she didn't actually go back to ACTH. And the situation is that today, she now is going out. Yes, she's still at times has a bit of lack of energy, but she says the gas has been put back into her tank. She goes to see her family, is not reliant upon her family coming to see her. The other interesting thing about Glandacort is that, for me, talking to a lot of doctors who buy from us, they're increasingly saying that they're coming to regard Glandacort as being one of the key bioregulators because of how it deals with stress. And they're saying if somebody's coming in with a serious condition, then to be able to relieve the stress which is inevitably being caused is a step in the healing process. The testes peptide bioregulator, or PB, Testalutin. It's been shown to have good effects for dealing with sarcopenia. I've talked about Glandacort already, but again, combining it with Glandacort for severe stress. Yes, it helps the older male patients look and feel better, and obviously helps with raising testosterone levels. In one case here, which I'll just briefly mention, 57-year-old male who started, took 3 courses over a 19-week period, and basically his testosterone levels rose from 310 nanograms per deciliter up to 541 over the 19-week period in 3 courses, each course being 20 capsules over 10 days. Just on the side, a doctor, this was a 72-year-old doctor, similar condition. He started at 475 nanograms per deciliter. He took 1 course and found 5 weeks later that his reading was then at 554 nanograms per deciliter. The BDON, or for the prostate. Yes, it's shown to help with shrinkage of prostate enlargement. One of the things from everybody who's used it has talked about improved libido and erections and improved urination patterns, as well as reducing the sort of PSA levels. So, for instance, with this gentleman, he found he'd actually had prostate cancer and he had some proton treatment, which he put him in remission and reduced everything for him. But he noticed that his PSA levels had started to rise again. And not wanting to have further proton treatment, and being American, there's also insurance issues, he's tried taking the BDON to see the effect it would have. He took the course and he found that after the first treatment, his levels had gone down to 7. He then repeated it and he found they came down to 2. and he now is on a maintenance course, so he's taking 1 pack every 4 months. Bonomalo and hemoglobin. Bonomalo, yes, it's one of the more, like all the peptide bioregulators, it's a great bioregulator. It deals with both anemic and polycythemia conditions. In this particular condition, we have a 90-year-old male who, as you can see, was very low hemoglobin count. He was down at 7. In fact, he was having blood transfusions, regular blood transfusions, occasionally weekly blood transfusions. He was trying to find alternatives, something to help him. He talked to his local integral doctor, who suggested trying the Bonomalo, and he started that in January of last year. Over the next 12 months, his readings went from 7 to 13, up to 13 grams per deciliter. He's had no further transfusions in that time, and he's due to go back in for further tests in about 6 weeks in July. This gentleman, people knew he didn't have a healthy lifestyle. Basically, he drank, but nobody quite realised how bad. Sorry, I didn't say drank. I beg your pardon. I did myself. Sorry. This gentleman, 55-year-old, he had a very low ejection fraction reading. It was down at 5. Again, he started on the Chelahart, and over, as you can see, over the next 8 months or so, between May 16 and January 17, it rose up to 55. In fact, in the first 6 weeks, it rose from 5 to 35 for the first 6 weeks. He still is on the course of the Chelahart, and again, he's due for review in a few weeks' time, when they will be looking to see, provided to continue to rise, to actually cutting back on his dosage and eventually getting onto a maintenance course rather than the constant course he's on at the moment. Right. 62-year-old liver patient. His ALT reading was at 100 in May of 2016. His AST was just over 80. Over then a 2-month period, the ALT through the spetinol fell to 38, and his AST reduced to 36. This is the gentleman I got ahead of myself on. As I was saying, he drank a lot, nobody actually realised the state of his kidneys. And what actually happened, it was New Year's Eve 2015, 31st of December 2015, going out to celebrate the coming New Year, and he collapsed, ended up in hospital instead. And the blood test that he had showed that his creatine levels were at 2.7, his bun level was at 38, and his GFR was at 14. Over the next 12 months, he regularly took the Pilotax. His bun level fell from 38 down to 24. His GFR rose from 14 to 60. His creatine fell from what had been 2.7 to 2.09, and his hospital specialist talked about him having a rather amazing natural recovery, and that he didn't need to go and see him again for 12 months. He'd actually been to a naturopath doctor who put him onto the Pilotax, and he's due to have further tests with the doctor again in July of this year. So those are a few of the feedbacks we've had from our doctors. What I would say is that I appreciate a lot of these slides have had quite detailed information. What we found is that once it gets out into the field, very often they're not keeping blood test results and everything like that day by day, as if they're doing a study on every one of their patients. But what they've all referred back to is that they found the peptides to be totally efficacious. They haven't come across any side effects. We haven't found any, or unaware of any known contraindications, and they've really appreciated the long and established research behind the peptide bioregulators, going back some 40 years, and the case studies such as that which we've already heard about in Ukraine and elsewhere, where they've looked at people over 12 years. That has given them the confidence to go ahead and prescribe the bioregulators to their patients. Just very briefly, there is a scientific book coming out in the next few weeks. It's as you can see the title, Peptides and the Epigenetic Control of Aging. If you'd like to order the book, I can take your orders now, or take your interest now, and once it's available, we'll contact you and come back to you. So it's better to let me know afterwards. I'll take notes of your name, so I think I'll give you a business card. That's my email address, mark@antiaging-systems.com, or come see me, as I say, pick up a business card and we can communicate after the conference. Okay.